at Midway and 14 in Aurora. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson.
Insert Democrat socialist here.
Runs the Democratic House floor for 30 plus years running. He's promising this and he's stealing that. Where can you get that kind of money? He's using your house like his own piggy bank. You ought to know by now. You can pay off your house here in Illinois, but you can never keep up with the taxes. Oh, how it's always been the plan to have a taxpayer pay, no doubt. Not a matter of if anymore, but when you're moving out.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. That theme music means it's time for our weekly confab with Ted Dabrowski, president of Wirepoints.org, all things Illinois policy related. Before we get to Ted, and sort of as a segue in, I mean, this IHSA business, we need to do a whole, call-in about IHSA horror stories, apparently.
Oh, lots of text messages, too. Ooh.
Go ahead.
Dan and Amy, I know basketball players at Kenwood who live in the suburbs.
Right.
The wrestling story is making the rounds on the media, and to be honest, this is making 0 sense because the IHSA should let that Jimmy wrestle. There's no way around it.
And the kid at Montini.
Yep. Renee Byron, wrestling family here. Keep up the good fight! Exclamation point! Exclamation point! So
we got another one, and this time this is about the sport that is the most manly sport of all the sports.
Are you talking about golf?
Well, obviously, see? Right,
Okay.
you know. You know the description.
I mean, it's you work up a slather, huh? Hitting that little white ball. Let's go. What do you got?
It's the game within the game. It's mind, body.
Yes.
It's
it's mental. Yeah.
It's Andy in Dallas, Texas. Andy?
So we had lived in Hinsdale since '99, and around 2010, our oldest son was ready to go to high school. He got the opportunity to go to a boarding school in Florida to play golf and go to high school. So he did that freshman and sophomore year. Had a great time, great experience, but he wanted to come back to Hinsdale and go to Central for his last 2 years of high school, just have a normal high school last couple of years. So he transfers up. He tries out for the golf team, which is a really tough team to make. He makes the team, but then IHSA declares him ineligible to compete because he's a first-year transfer. Now, I understand that's the rules, but then the AD at Hinsdale Central, who's a great guy, he said, you can try appealing and call this guy. He's a lawyer in the western suburbs. I'm not going to say
his name Mike Madigan?
No, he's not, but
okay,
he's that kind of a creature. He said, so I called this lawyer, and the guy, I mean, this guy is slick, and he was like, okay, here's what you're going to do. You're going to write me a check for $6,000, and I'm going to write a letter to the IHSA. And lo and behold, we wrote a check, and he wrote the letter, and our son was declared eligible to play. So there's
that'd be nice. Money bags.
Yeah.
It's the property tax appeal system applied to sports.
Yeah.
Oh, very interesting. Oh, gosh, corruption in the IHSA. Boy, what a shocker.
So, but normally when you transfer, don't you have to wait a year before you're eligible to play?
Right, except he was transferred from an out-of-state school to his home district.
Oh.
His home was in Hinsdale. Central was his home district. So this wasn't a transfer to be able to play on a different, he was transferring to come home. And that was the point that we made. But it was the resolution of it, having to pay a connected lawyer who obviously was buddies with the former guy from IHSA. I can't remember his name, Bob something. I mean, it's just so filthy.
Yeah, like everything else in Illinois. Thanks for the call. That's really interesting. Boy, peel back the layers at IHSA, and you'll find it operates just like every other governmental institution in Chicagoland and Illinois. Isn't that?
They don't
isn't that
exercise
telling?
common sense, and they don't think about the children first. I mean, these years they're fleeting. You blink and it's over.
Yeah, but this isn't about common sense. This is about the central planners and the IHSA is just another adjunct of the K through 12 government Politburo, which is why maybe this is something that would actually interest people. Why not have a transfer portal at the high school level? Why not?
Yeah.
The point is kids.
Yeah.
The point is kids should play. This isn't big time. I understand the high school sports very well, but this isn't big time college athletics. There's not all this cash at stake. There's some, but I mean it's not material in the way that it is at the collegiate level. There's no TV contracts and shoe deals and so on and so forth. I get there's a little bit of that stuff goes on, but it's very small. I'm just saying a transfer portal. I'm not saying paying and all this other stuff and boosters. Transfer portal. I mean, because otherwise you get these ridiculous decisions like this kid who has a hearing problem, and he goes on the recommendation of academics and doctors from one school to the other that's a better fit for him, and now you're not going to let him wrestle his senior season?
Well, I just talked to Mike Scott in the break room, and he said that the principal and the athletic director didn't sign off on that yet. And that's why they're not letting. But they should have signed off.
At Downers?
Yes, at Downers. So as a coach, you have to go in with the athletic director and sign off on the papers, and then the principal has to sign off, and then they can go.
Yeah, but I mean that. But also, why? I mean, his academic counselor signed off on it. The audiologist from Lurie's signed off on it. But mom and dad want it. I mean,
he wants it too.
Yeah,
right?
I mean that should
be enough.
You have to layers. Everybody has to sign off because everybody's got to have their little fiefdom of power and weigh in on everything. That's the whole point. This is a system-centric system, not a family and kid-centric system, and that needs to change. And maybe devolving power away from the system is a good idea. Gee, do you think? All right, let's bring in Ted on this. Ted, thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate it. Hey, so I mean, we're talking about this in the context of sports, which probably interests people more than unfunded pension liabilities and superintendent salaries. But it's the same. I mean, my larger point is a point that you've been making for eons as well, which is it's just like everything is to protect the system. It's not to advance the interests of those financing the system. Ironically,
the point, and it's hard to pick on individual things because. Bad. They all contribute to the system failing, and that's certainly the case for Brandon Johnson moving the union move, which is the S schools, the selective enrollment schools, and PS. So it's again protecting the system, protecting the union power. Of course,
Ted, you're cutting it. You're cutting in and out on us a little bit.
Are you moving around?
Is Ted? No, is he cut out on us altogether?
No, it's
I think it's time for a new phone.
Oh, there we go.
There we go. That's better.
All right. Ted? It's time for a new phone, and he proved his point. He always provides the evidence. All right, let's effort to get Ted back on a line that we can hear him on. We'll be right back.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Do you have a home remodeling project you'd love to get done? This is your opportunity to lock in this year's pricing with Chicago's Design Build Dream Team. Forever Remodeling is now offering exceptional savings. Simply sign on by December 31st to avoid any price increases next year. At Forever Remodeling, their expert designers and installers will turn your dreams into reality. Act now and you'll not only protect yourself from future price increases, but also beat the rush and secure a preferred spot in their schedule. Call 847-809-3355 or visit foreverremodeling.com. Highly skilled to design and build.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, Dan and Amy, do we have Ted from Wirepoints back? Ted.
I'm here. Let's see if my phone works.
Okay. Anyway, we were just talking about the imperious nature of K through 12 education in Illinois, centrally planned as it is, and that extends to sports. And you were responding.
Yeah, and the system, now Brandon Johnson and the unions want to, protect the system that is the Chicago public schools by getting rid of selective enrollment schools, which damage their white supremacy arguments. So get rid of high performing things, and they can continue to blame whites.
Well, and the Wall Street Journal actually has taken up the issue of the selective enrollment schools. I mean, again, it's no surprise to us. Even though BLM Brandon said he wasn't going to go after them, we knew he was because that's the teachers union's posture. Wall Street Journal pointing out that, for example, at Wall Street Journal editorial, Bronzeville Classical Elementary School, a selective school on the south side, 73% of the students are black, and 72% of the black students read at grade level, which is about, 5x the number of black students reading at grade level system-wide in CPS, and he wants to stop that.
Yeah, we put out a list yesterday, I think it was, of the high-performing schools. And, you look at places like Keller Elementary Gifted Magnet School or Northside College Prep. There, 96% of black kids read at grade level. 100% of Hispanics read at grade level. And, we've been talking about how many of these schools, only 5% or 7%. This is where the top-end performing, blacks and Hispanics are competing with the whites and the Asians. And not only do they do well, Dan and Amy, they excel. So when you look at the test scores, they don't just meet standards, they excel, they exceed standards. So these are the kids that Brandon Johnson, they're always out there promoting the rappers, and they're promoting the great sports athletes. They should be promoting the hell out of these kids who can perform like that, because they are the role models for everybody. It doesn't matter what color you are. These are high performing kids, and you see these in all these top performing schools at 70 to 80 to 90%, close to 100% reading proficiency. My God, we should figure out how to replicate the hell out of that. Learn what's happening in those schools, whether it's family values, parent dedication, teacher dedication. It works. And that compares to the horrible schools out there.
Right. Well, how do you see, in 5 years from now, do you think people are going to flood into the neighborhoods of, Northside Prep, Jones Prep, Whitney Young, so that they can go to that school because technically that's their neighborhood school? Or do you just see people moving out?
Yeah, I think this is just a continued segregation. This is the most segregated system there is. It's already 85% minority. If you want to selective enrollment schools, you're going to see the more white flight, and of course you'll see top black flight and top flight be the continued destruction of CPS and what's left of it.
Well, right. I mean, those high-performing kids like at Bronzeville, selective enrollment school, I mean, they're making the other kids feel bad about themselves, so we got to put a stop to that. I mean, that's essentially the position of Brandon Johnson, the teachers union.
It's exactly what he says. We can't have these kids feeling bad, but the issue is these lower performing schools, and those are all throughout the West and the South, and throughout the city. Schools, and we highlighted this in the piece, there are schools where 0% of whites and 0% of blacks can read. We've got equity at the wrong end of the spectrum. This Wells Community Academy, no whites can read at grade level. Tilden Career Academy, and these are schools. They're not special schools. That's kind of destruction on the other end. Johnson is, I think, more comfortable protecting that in the high-performing kids in the high-performing schools.
We've been talking a little bit about DIE at the collegiate level in the wake of the disgraceful performances of university presidents, particularly in the Ivy League, but not exclusively. I see that you guys over at wirepoints.org took a little look at the University of Illinois college, the University of Illinois system and Illinois colleges and universities when it comes to the expenditures of the top DIE officials at these schools. Some eye-popping numbers, and of course we know this is just the top DIE official that doesn't speak to the number and cost of the entire DIE bureaucracies at places like U of I, Richard Mendenhall's alma mater. I see the U of I vice chancellor for diversity, equity, and inclusion. His total comp is $350,000. That's pretty good. So the whole even when there's this sort of people see somewhat of a reckoning happening, whether it's the Supreme Court's decision in the Harvard admissions case or this discussion that's now happening because of what we've seen after the October 7th terrorist attack in Gaza on college campuses, particularly the elite campuses. There still needs to be a recognition of how entrenched this has been allowed to get, including at the state schools.
Yeah, exactly. We can. Many of us can be really ticked off at what goes on at these universities, and like you said, what happened at Penn and Harvard. showed us just how extreme these universities are being. And there's a significant cost with regard to what it does to our kids. But then there's the other cost, which is the fiscal cost. And my colleague Nick Bernardi, our new addition at Wirepoints, he was digging into this. And what we found is that it's really tough. There's so many DEI type with the nomenclature that it's hard to find all the employees because some of them are hidden in other departments and they use different names. And so coming up with a full picture is not easy. But some of it's easy, and you can start to see how expensive these people are. I mean, the fact that Sean Garrick has a total comp of $352,000 at U of I, Northern Illinois $250,000 for the Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, and Chief Diversity Officer. These are big numbers, and if you start looking at the staffs, really big. And you can imagine this is really like they got their tentacles throughout the system. We're going to have to dig a little bit more to calculate the full cost.
Ted Dabrowski, President of Wirepoints, wirepoints.org, that is. Ted, thanks as always for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
The Answer. Bad decisions limit future options. Make enough bad decisions and you'll destroy your life. Listen to The Flatline with Rick Hughes this Sunday morning at 7. The Flatline describes a main line of resistance in your soul built on God's Word. Listen this Sunday for inspiration, motivation, education, all without manipulation. That's The Flatline with Rick Hughes this Sunday morning at 7 on AM 560. The Answer.
There's a good chance you need a new tractor, something durable and reliable. But in today's world, it has to be affordable. A tractor that'll help you get the job done quickly, efficiently, and with no hassle